On today's podcast, we sat down with the local band Midwest Voltage. We chatted about musical influences, how they came to be, early memories of music exposure, their experience playing a drive-in music festival during COVID, and what's next for the band. You can find more conversations on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy, and he's Brent, and this is Lacrosse Local.
I'm Hugh Rose. I play bass guitar and vocals. Born in La Crosse here. Started playing bass probably right around 15, 16. Andrew started playing guitar, and I also wanted to play guitar, but I figured since he was playing guitar, I'd play bass instead. I'm doing that pretty consistently ever since. I mean, I haven't really practiced probably since I was like 20, and I'm 38, so I haven't gotten any better, but I haven't gotten any worse, because I try to consistently be in bands to kind of, and I mess around when we jam and stuff, but otherwise it's something I'm okay at, so I stay doing it. So pretty inspirational, huh?
Yeah. Sometimes that's for the better,
Yes.
What makes the sound.
That's right.
I'm Andrew Rose. I play guitar. Been playing guitar since I was about 12, 13. Born and raised in La Crosse. Started going down to the warehouse. Just starting to buy CDs when I was younger, getting more into hard rock and punk and stuff like that. And just for other dudes that were in the local music scene. And yeah, like I said, with being younger and going to shows, you pretty much had the option of the warehouse. And then, I remember going to a couple basement shows when I was younger, but that wasn't really a regular thing for me. But mostly the warehouse. And then, as I got older, being able to play bars and stuff like that.
My name is Matthew Smith. I was born and raised in this town. We all met at shows at the warehouse. We've been playing in bands together, so I got into music going to the warehouse and seeing bands this is going to date a whole lot of people in this music scene, but Bomb Pop, Hick, King Midget, all those bands, Marcus Noise even.
Space Bike,
Peg Boy.
USB.
Yep.
Yeah,
so to me that's how I got into music, was really just kind of falling into the scene, and I met these guys because of that. We've been playing music off and on in different bands for 20
years. Yeah, we've been in different bands together. So here's the order. So well, at least for bands for us together, me and Matt were in the Panic Status. We were 17. Is that right? 16?
16, 17, yeah.
And did that for at least a couple of years, right? And then later on, we were in Sometime Tomorrow. Did that for at least a few years. And then we were in Buried Face Down, metal band, where Smith played keyboard. And now we got this going on. This has been going on since 2013.
Yeah. January of 13, I think it was.
Yeah.
That we started jamming.
Yeah. So it's been going pretty good. They originally started without me, just guitar and drums. And they figured, maybe you guys just figured you needed a little backbone to it or something. I don't know.
Well, essentially, this band as a whole was another band called Sometime Tomorrow. And our drummer moved out to the East Coast. And we kind of me and Andrew, when he came back to town, because he moved away for a few years, we started kind of where we left off. And then we're like, well, we need a bass player. We're like, well, he was about the only person we know that we've played with.
Yeah, and I wasn't doing anything, so I wasn't in a band at that point, I don't believe.
So Sometime Tomorrow kind of evolved into this band.
So kind of talking about your early influences, I'm only a few years older than you guys. And I was also at the warehouse on a common occurrence from those bands like Workhorse Movement and some of the other ones you mentioned there, like Norm's Headache and Space Bike. Besides some of those local influences, what are some of who's kind of inspired you guys?
Me and Andrew kind of have an affinity for, as odd as it sounds, U2. Andrew really likes U2. I like U2 a lot, especially the kind of delay-driven stuff. So
yeah,
him and I have had that common kind of thing with U2, but we get a lot of oh, you must really Hum or Sparta or a lot of these like 90s influenced bands, like we generally get a lot of like feedback that you sound like a 90s band. I think a lot of our influence really comes from probably the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely hear that Sparta influences. So over the last couple months, I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of bands in the area that I never really knew existed, and maybe that's my own fault in the process of raising kids and things like that. But, you know, listening to The Worst, Deathless Dogs, who, you know, I love both those bands now. How do you feel about the music scene in La Crosse right now, if we could actually play?
I feel like we've kind of built a little bit more of a scene. And I don't want to say it like just outside of like the warehouse, because the warehouse is great. And the warehouse is awesome for all ages music. But like before all of this, we were playing shows a lot together. The Worst, Deathless Dogs, us.
Yeah, we played with them.
Yeah,
quite a few times
a lot of the shows that we played have been with Deathless Dogs and The Worst, which is great because we're all different sounding, but we've always worked well together, and that's how we built good friendships with those dudes. And of course, you know, like Zamek, Space Heaters, Homeland Conspiracy, This Could Be the Day, and Dead Air Disco, other hard rock based bands, you know. And there's always been good music around here, but there's definitely a good variety of rock punk based stuff at the moment, which is just awesome to be part of that, you know. It really is.
And I feel like the scene kind of always revolved around the warehouse. But I think the older we've gotten and the older musicians in those bands have gotten, that
We can go play
scene,
out of town.
Right. Well, that scene,
stuff, yeah.
that scene doesn't necessarily only revolve around the warehouse. And I think the warehouse was really key for us to build the scene. But I feel like bands like The Worst, us, Deathless Dogs, we started to play at the Popcorn and other venues, Cavalier. And it wasn't just like we just play a show. It felt like we just kept getting better and better crowd response.
Yes.
It's a weird dichotomy because we're the older part of the scene, if you want to put it that way. We're not necessarily a scene that caters to an all ages crowd.
Yeah.
But I feel like the scene that's kind of grown out of maybe the 90s has come into this kind of fruition that's a little different. And I kind of think that's where The Worst, us, Deathless Dogs, these bands kind of fit in now. It's a different scene. It's a little bit older of a scene.
It's just kind of interesting to just hear highly original, good music. Definitely, you have your influences that are maybe mainstream, but it's really exciting to kind of hear music that's local to this area where in my past, you know, watching jam bands playing 15-minute guitar solos, it's really exciting to see highly creative tunes in town now. So recently I saw you guys, I was watching a live stream from Who Gives a Fest, and that again had a lot of the acts you were just talking about. Was this one of your first shows that you guys played in the last 6 months? Like, how has COVID affected your ability to record music and be creative?
The last show we had played was up in Toma.
Yeah, the end of February.
That was in February, and we had played a handful of shows right before that. But then after that show in February, most of the work we've done on the album was done last winter, and then after that, that show in Toma in February, we didn't have anything lined up. And then of course everything happened. So the fact that Pearl Street Brewery and Jim Heiderscheit and Dylan and Michael and everybody else that did that Who Gives a Fest, it was really a huge deal to us to be part of an actual concert, for one, and two, to play with great dudes and like all of our favorite bands out of La Crosse. So to be part of that was like just a huge deal. And that, you know, that'll probably be the last show that we'll play in the near future at least. But it was a heck of a good one.
Right.
It was fantastic.
It felt kind of like like I said, like the scene we had built at those other venues, Popcorn or the Cavalier or wherever. It was kind of like oh my God, I've missed this because we used to do this so frequently with these bands.
Yeah.
So it was a very welcoming thing.
For sure.
It kind of felt like, hey, we haven't seen our friends in like 7 months.
We were in the middle of an album and we were unable to record the remaining part of it. because of this happening. Just the risk, in being around other people. We've had it pretty much done and mixed and mastered for quite a few months. So that's going to obviously put a burden on things. Songs we've written and tight and have all together. It's just a point of eventually finishing it up and releasing it. So that's kind of been in the works for kind of on hold for last, 6 months.
We should probably have it out within the next couple months and have duplication done and put it on music platforms. But we are planning on actually having it completed in the next few months.
Yeah, that's the hopes. And I think one of the blessings was kind of when everything hit, we ended up writing another song that didn't end up being on the album that we really liked. There was another song and, another piece we were working on too. So, it wasn't completely finished, but it was almost finished. So I think it kind of led us to be a little bit more open to creativity.
Yeah, because
we got something done.
Yeah, and we're not playing shows as often, so we have more time to actually get together and do the whole writing process instead of, playing shows as often where we don't have time to, kind of thing. So that has helped.
So is there any songs off that new album that you'll have out in a couple months that you're excited about?
Put up a song called Red Wing. Which is about this kind of scene in Red Wing that weirdly enough organically happened from meeting people when we played this small fest
in Plum City,
Wisconsin. And then we started playing in Red Wing frequently. And oddly enough, we started getting a really good turnout every single time we played at Red Wing.
A lot of super nice people too.
Yeah. So Red Wing has become kind of our second home when we were playing out of town. So that song is kind of about that. It's kind of like our second home when we play out of town.
Right.
Besides the album coming out, do you have any other exciting ventures that you have going on this year or hope for?
Not me.
Not you. As far as a band, I mean, we've kind of had some things in the talks. We've worked with this company in town called Lacrosse clothing company, and Chris has been super, super cool with us.
He has been very good to us.
So Chris had done a really cool design for a t-shirt for us. That was a Lacrosse Midwest Voltage t-shirt. We've been trying to kind of figure out, once this album comes out, stuff that we can do to cross promote with Chris and Lacrosse and us. The idea is once we can get everything kind of rolling and good and ready to go, is that we're going to work with Chris again.
We're going to put his name on our album as putting it out.
Yeah, it's like a co-release kind of.
Yeah, like a co-release with him, so he'll be the one actually, kind of putting it out, clothing company, as opposed to a record label, it's going to have his name on it,
He's a really nice guy. He's been he just happened to stumble upon us. He's very supportive of us.
So speaking of that, if people want to find out more or follow along or maybe see when that album's coming out, where would you suggest people follow along?
Our Facebook, when we're not posting stuff about our music, Hugh is really, really good about posting really funny memes.
Good comic relief.
So yeah, we have some comic relief on our Facebook.
Yeah, Hugh does that once or twice a week at least, just to keep things fresh.
Yeah, keep the presence. Everything that we post is quality, I would say.
As far as our music, you can go to midwestvoltage.bandcamp.com. Yes. The Bandcamp has all of our music right now, and it's all free to download.
A 6-song album that we released a little over 3 years ago. Otherwise, we do have a
demo.
Yep, we also have a previous demo that's on there, and then you can find out updates or any other info type stuff.
Yeah,
on most of the
shows and things.
Yeah, on our Facebook site, best way to find information.
Lacrosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at Lacrosse Locals. Subscribe to the Lacrosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.